Spurs are getting a lot of criticism right now for the potential signing of Savinho. He's going to cost a lot of money, but what if I told you he's a game changer and everyone else is underrating him right now? Now let's actually talk about Savinho the footballer, because Spurs are getting a very gifted footballer. It would be boring if I came on here, spoke about his price. We know he's overpriced. You don't have to be a scientist to work that out. But Spurs really lacked quality out wide last season, and Savinho helped solve that void. And another thing I think Spurs were really lacking was strong ball carriers. Savinho is that guy. Now, you guys can see these numbers on the screen here for progressive carries. Savinho is third for progressive carries out of all wingers last year in the Premier League. Of course, limited sample size, 100% understand the argument. But you guys can see it matches the eye. Savinho is a very strong ball carrier on both sides, left and the right, as these numbers show. Now, to truly understand this signing, we need to understand what De Zerbi is trying to build at Spurs. Last season, Spurs was a very, very poor representation of De Zerbi's traditional style of football. He likes his football to be a high possession game, slower in terms of build-up. You guys can see this graphic on the screen here. Spurs' 25-26 side were in the top left-hand side for passes per sequence and direct speed upfield. They were very, very direct. They were very fast to play. That's not something that we normally associate with a De Zerbi side. De Zerbi likes his technical players. He likes those players that are comfortable in retaining possession to build up. Savinho is that guy. Now, we know how De Zerbi likes to use his wingers. He likes to keep them high and wide. Someone else who likes to do that is Enzo Maresca, and Enzo Maresca has been doing that at Man City so far in pre-season. Savinho has been keeping high and wide, making a lot of vertical runs, and in my personal opinion, he's been doing a very, very good job at that. But more importantly, Spurs are obviously different to Manchester City. The personnel was different. And something that I believe Spurs lack a lot is creativity. Now, if you guys look at Savinho so far in pre-season or over his, let's say, his span as a footballer, he's very good at creating chances from out wide. Just look at the Atletico Madrid game in this pre-season as the perfect example. There were so many times he got to the byline and put dangerous balls in. Now, like I said, last season was not a true reflection of his game, and the sample size in terms of minutes played in the league was not big enough. But let's bring it back to the season before, where he played over 1,500 minutes in the Premier League. Just look at his open play expected assist numbers. They're phenomenal. They're genuinely phenomenal. 0.31 open play expected assist, which puts him in the top 3 percentiles for wingers in the big 5 leagues. This is what Spurs are getting, and this is something that people need to realize. Savinho is still a quality player. We just didn't see enough of it last year. Now, another thing that I don't think Savinho gets enough credit for is his defensive work. He works extremely hard from a defensive point of view, and you kind of have to if you want to play under Pep Guardiola. We saw last season, look at his defensive numbers right here. Defensive ground duels won, very, very high. But look at his ball recovery and tackle and interception numbers. These are extremely, extremely good for wingers. And when you think about it, Spurs have been in a relegation battle for the last 2 seasons in terms of their league position. They've struggled. They need players that are going to fight. Savinho is a fighter and he will help out defensively, which is so, so important, and something that Spurs have really needed from players out wide in those forward areas. Now, on social media, you've seen Savinho get a lot of criticism for one thing, which is his lack of goals. And that is a very, very valid argument, you could argue. But I want to add some more context into that. The first of them being, he's actually getting opportunities. You guys can see these numbers on the screen here. His shot numbers are over 2.5. His non-penalty XG, open play XG, their numbers are there, but as you guys can see in that top category, non-penalty goals, very, very low. So why is that the case? First of all, I think one of the biggest things that we have to realize is Savinho is a completely different player in terms of finishing from the left and on the right. We've seen his goal numbers at Manchester City not be good enough, but a lot of his football has come down the right. For Girona, he got 9 goals in his last season. All of his football that season pretty much came from the left. Now, the reason why I wanted to mention that, when you're looking at his performances for Girona on the left and his finishing capabilities, a lot of his finishes were a lot more instinctive, arriving back post. Those are some areas where I think Savinho just feels a bit more comfortable arriving at. I just don't think he had the same effect on the right hand side in terms of him in front of goal. I don't think he's a ball striking capability issue. We know Savinho can strike a ball. Of course, I do think there's probably opportunities at Manchester City where he could have done better, but again, his shot selection at times hasn't been good enough. In terms of a left-footed player playing on the right-hand side, you normally expect them to have that curling shot in the locker into the far post. I don't think Savinho has that, but I do think Savinho's goal threat does change on the left, and it does increase. which is something to think about because I think he will play on the right-hand side for Tottenham. But all in all, I think this is a very, very good player that Spurs are signing. We forget his age. He's only 22 still. He still has a lot of room to grow. Of course, there's going to be a lot of pressure coming into Spurs, especially with the price tag. But I'm really hoping we see the guy's capabilities. Because remember 2 years ago before Manchester City signed him, how highly he was spoken about. One bad season, you could argue, everyone's forgotten the qualities of Savinho, but the talent is clearly there. Let's see how he does this season in the Premier League, where he's probably going to be playing a lot more and hopefully be at his best. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel and let me know down below what you think of this signing.